Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Weekly Reads. My name is Devon, and I'm a librarian at the Worcester Public Library, and my co-host Joy is here with me. How are you today, Joy?
Oh, I'm just fine, and it's great to be back.
It is. I've got the logo behind me. I'm actually in the building, so that's a nice change. All the books that Joy and I are going to be sharing with you today are available online through the Libby or Overdrive app. You can also use your browser for Overdrive on your laptop or desktop. And we have everything available in print as well. So everything we're talking about today, you can get through curbside pickup if you're a Worcester Public Library patron. And for curbside pickup, you can place orders online on your own, or you can call in and we'll help you set up a hold, and then we'll call to schedule you when it's ready for pickup. So that's a nice change as well. So right now I'm going to share screens to show you the books we have ready to talk about today. Okay, this is our lineup for today. And as usual, I am going to focus on the fiction and Joy will do the nonfiction. And we have our coming soon title. So my first book is Your House Will Pay by Steph Cha. Cha is a Korean American novelist, and this book came out in 2019 in October. It was the winner of the Los Angeles Times Book Prize, a Best Book of the Year by the Wall Street Journal, Chicago Tribune, Book Riot, and more. And in the book, after the police shooting of a Black teenager, Los Angeles is as tense as it's been since the early 1990s. But Grace Park and Sean Matthews have their own problems. Grace is sheltered and oblivious, living in the valley with her Korean immigrant parents and working at the family pharmacy. Sean has had enough of politics and protest after violence shattered his family years ago. He just wants to be left alone to enjoy his life. But when another shocking crime hits LA, both the Park and Matthews families are forced to face their history while navigating a city on the brink of violence. So even though this book is set in the present day, it's based on true events in Los Angeles from the early 1990s, including the beating of Rodney King by 4 white police officers, the murder of Latasha Harlins by a Korean convenience store clerk, and the ensuing riots in the spring of 1992. The Los Angeles Times said the book is a deep dive into Los Angeles's racial underbelly and tensions. It's a timely book that showcases two cultures and two families forced to confront injustice, anger, and profound loss. So they said the book was timely in 2019. I think it's very timely for right now. It sounds like a good one to try. And here is Joy's pick.
My first choice is also set in LA, and it's sort of a nonfiction equivalent of Devon's first choice. Ghetto Side, the story of an American murder, is by LA Times reporter Jill Lavoie and was named one of the best books of the year in numerous publications when it first came out in 2015. I read Ghetto Side several years ago and consider it an essential read, maybe the essential read, for all who hope to understand the origin and urgency of the Black Lives Matter movement. First, though perhaps not foremost, Ghetto Side is a true crime story, or as the Boston Globe put it, a snappy police procedural. The victim, Bryant Tonelli, was 18, and like many 18-year-olds, uncertain as to what he wanted to do next. The youngest child of an LA homicide detective in a family of high achievers, Bryant was a charming, mechanically inclined young man who, as might be expected, loved rap music, sports, and young women, and perhaps less typically raised chickens in the backyard. He was a conscientious worker who held down several part-time jobs. And while his family worried about his choice of friends, some of whom had tenuous ties to local gangs, there's no telling what Bryant might have become had he not been gunned down in a random shooting on his way home from the corner store in May of 2007. At this point, Bryant might have become a statistic, just another Black man down, as cynical residents of his South LA neighborhood put it. But the Tonelli family had one thing going for them. John Skaggs was assigned to the case. Skaggs, a blonde, blue-eyed Republican from the suburbs, was one of a small cadre of detectives assigned to solving homicides in one of LA's most dangerous neighborhoods. A notoriously relentless investigator, Skaggs struggled against a host of obstacles: inadequate staffing levels, outdated equipment, the stress of dealing with grieving families, reluctant witnesses, and perhaps most importantly, a subtle but pervasive societal belief that the lives of Black men really don't matter, or at least don't matter all that much. In the end, Skaggs and his crew managed to solve the senseless murder of Bryant Tonelli and bring his killers to justice. But that is only one small victory set against a backdrop of defeat. Why? In this book, Lavoie, the daughter of a Black father and a white Jewish mother, suggests that communities of color suffer from too much policing on the one hand and too little on the other. She explains it this way, and I quote, "Historically, white people had the law, Black people didn't. Formal law impinged on them only for purposes of protection, of control, not protection. Small crimes were crushed, big ones indulged, so long as the victims were Black. This idea that formal law exists to control some people and protect others, but not both, has fueled widespread mistrust of law enforcement and a lack of faith in the justice system as a whole in places like South LA. This has resulted in an epidemic of violence as residents with little hope that justice will be served through the courts routinely take the law into their own hands. This solution," Lavoie suggests, "is obvious. Treat every violent death as the tragedy it is, because every precious life in our diverse community is irreplaceable."
That sounds like a really powerful book. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Okay, so my next book is a mystery. This is Bluebird, Bluebird. It's a Highway 59 mystery. It is book 1 in the series. I believe there are 2 right now in the series, but this is the first. It came out in 2017. And Attica Locke, the author, turns out she's also the writer and producer for the Emmy Award-winning TV show Empire.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. I was very impressed. So just like her TV show won awards, so did this book. It was one of Crime Read's 10 best novels of the decade, which was amazing to me. Also winner of the 2018 Edgar Award for Best Novel, and a Best Book of the Year for Publishers Weekly, Book Riot, The Guardian, The Boston Globe, and many more. In the book, when it comes to law and order, East Texas plays by its own rules, something that Darren, a Black Texas Ranger, knows well. Ambivalent about growing up Black in the Lone Star State, he travels up Highway 59 to the small town of Lark, where 2 murders, a Black lawyer from Chicago and a local white woman, have stirred up resentment. His allegiance to his roots has put his job in jeopardy, and Darren must solve the crimes and save himself before Lark's simmering racial fault lines erupt. The book has been called a rural noir, which I thought was interesting. USA Today said the book is a detailed thriller filled with conflicting emotions steeped in the nation's troubled past and present. A feeling of dread permeates Locke's heartbreakingly resonant novel about race and justice in America. It rises above left and right and Black and white and follows the threads that bind us together, even as we rip them apart. So if you're someone who likes mysteries but likes a little bit more than a mystery in that sort of book, it sounds like Bluebird, Bluebird would be a great book for you. And here's one from Joy.
Yes, I've read the second volume in the series, and it's just wonderful.
Heard
So
great
I appreciate your recommendation of the first.
Oh, of course.
Well, you may have noticed that I ordinarily follow a heavy, thought-provoking title with something a bit lighter, but today I have two heavy hitters for you. Who We Are and How We Got Here is a deceptively simple title for a book dealing with a complex subject. While the author claims that his work is intended for a general audience, some reviewers say that the material may be a bit much for readers without a background in genetics. Fair enough, this is not exactly beach reading. But as a genealogist with no training in the sciences at all, I found plenty here to ponder. Anyone, me for instance, who has faithfully watched every episode of Nova since 1982,
I love
may be
Nova.
familiar with many. It's just great. Rai covers Ötzi the Iceman, the habits of Flores Island, the controversy surrounding Native American prehistory, the Fox-True-Pro gene, and the Neanderthal contribution to our genetic heritage, to name just a few. And he does so without resorting to dizzying mathematical formulae that underlie his work. Wright provides a fine overview of current research in the field of DNA and human origins, but cautions that what he calls the DNA revolution is moving so quickly that much of what he presents as state-of-the-art knowledge today may be obsolete tomorrow, so stay tuned. Reich's major theme is that the technological advances in the field have enabled us to extract, identify, and interpret DNA from ancient bones with far greater precision and less expensively than ever before. And what the data seems to show is that the population diffusion of our ancient ancestors has resulted in an amalgam of genetic components that make the concept of race meaningless. There is not, nor has there ever been, Reich says, a pure racial stock, just mixes all the way down. Those who have taken a commercial DNA test may be disappointed. This book will be of no help in identifying your 9th great-grandfather on your mother's side. But if you'd like to move beyond that pie chart and are as intrigued as I am by the prospect of tracing the ghosts of nameless ancestors through the deep history embedded in our genes, this may be the book for you.
It's so amazing they can get DNA from ancient remains. That really impresses me.
It's cool.
Yeah. Okay, so next we have our coming soon title, and it's an Elin Hilderbrand. As usual, she comes out with a great summer title. So this one is going to be released on June 16th, which is Tuesday. You can place a hold on it for the print version. It's not quite ready yet in Overdrive and Libby, but I expect it will pop up very soon. So a little bit about the book. When Mallory's son, Link, receives deathbed instructions from her to call a phone number, he doesn't expect Jake McLeod to answer, and he wonders how they know each other. Back in the summer of 1993, Mallory had a cottage on Nantucket and agreed to host her brother's bachelor party. Cooper's friend from college, Jake, was there, and Jake and Mallory formed a bond that continued through marriage and children until Mallory learned that she was dying. 28 Summers explores the agony and romance of a one-weekend-per-year affair. People says that the book is captivating and bittersweet. The New York Times says that this book has a sweeping love story, which is Hilderbrand's best ever. So if you love reading Hilderbrand's new book in the summer, this is the new one for you, and it's coming out on the 16th.
Too much romance for me.
Well, yeah, have something for everybody. All right, and that brings us to the end of our selection for this week. Don't forget, if there's something, a genre or topic you'd like a recommendation for, you can just put it down in the comments below, and Joy and I will see what we can do. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching, and we'll hope to see you again next week. Bye.
See you later, fellow readers.